It is being recorded. You can
Okay.
vote it. I can vote it after the meeting.
Okay,
Okay?
we'll do that then. Okay, shall we begin? Would everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes, please.
Trustee Cheney?
Here.
Trustee Foster?
Here.
Mayor Newhart?
Here.
Trustee Bachman?
Here.
Trustee McKnight?
Here. I'll give a short introduction. Tonight's a very exciting moment. It's a moment of change. It's a moment of transition. We have two new trustees, and in my mind, three new trustees, actually, because this is Corey's first term. And so our board is getting younger, and I think that's a really important thing, to be, to be in a relationship with the community, which I believe is becoming younger as well. And it's an exciting time. Already, the ideas that are going across the table in our work sessions or in our conversations have been extraordinary, excellent. And so I really personally look forward to this next phase, to my next term and sharing that term with Carly and with Tom, so, and with the rest of the board. So shall we begin with the swearing in?
Sure. Mayor Newhart, would you like to go first?
Oh, boy, okay. Okay.
If you could please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Michael J. Newhart,
I, Michael J. Newhart,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Mayor of the Village of Warwick
of Mayor of the Village of Warwick
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Sign.
You know, you always sign in the wrong place.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Me, Carly? Yes. Carly, if you can raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I, Carly Foster,
I, Carly Foster,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of trustee of the Village of Warwick
of trustee of the Village of Warwick
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Tom?
If you can please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Thomas McKnight,
I, Thomas McKnight,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of trustee of the Village of Warwick
of trustee of the Village of Warwick
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. So, Raina, this is your moment to shine.
Okay, here we go.
Also, just for the folks in the room to know, tonight is called the Reorganizational meeting, and that is when we do all the appointments and also the designated responsibilities and roles of the trustees. And Carly, sorry, Raina will read them off.
Okay. The appointments for the official year of 2022 of the Village of Warwick. Attorney to the Village Board, Stephen Gaba. Attorney to the Planning Board, Robert Dickover. Attorney to the Zoning Board of Appeals, Robert Fink. Labor Relations, William Kang, Keenan Bean. Bond Counsel, Norton Rose Fulbright. Village Engineer, Engineering and Surveying Properties, PC. Water System and Facilities Engineer, Barton and LaJudas. Engineer responsible for reservoir resources and dam safety, Tectonic Engineering. Accountant, Michael Venieri. Grant writer, Linda Smith. Computer consultant, TCG Solutions, Kevin Brand. Computer programmer, Edmonds and Associates, BAS, Municity. Website maintenance, Walling Technology, Mark Damia. Court prosecutor, Robert Remetta. Registrar of Vital Statistics, Eileen Astorino. Deputy Registrar of Vital Statistics, Carolyn Perda. Deputy Mayor, Barry Cheney. Deputy Village Clerk, Jennifer Mancy. Deputy Village Treasurer, Denise Bolnez. Public Works Supervisor, Michael Mosier. Working Leader, Jason McCooch. Recreation Director, Ronan Torini. Assessor, Deborah Urick. Official Banks, Webster Bank, Orange Bank and Trust. Associate Village Justice, Peter Barlett. Risk Management, Raina Abramson. Emergency Management, Michael Mosier, Michael Newhart. 911 Coordinator, Maureen Evans. Village Newspaper, Warwick Advertiser. Citizens Awareness Panel, Jones Chemical, Michael Newhart, Barry Cheney, Michael Mosier, and Joseph Lawler. Records Management Officer, Raina Abramson. Office Personnel Liaison, Raina Abramson. DPW Personnel Liaison, Michael Mosier. Village Health Official, Dr. Anthony Martini. Safety Officers, Michael Mosier, Boris Rudzinski, Corey Bachman. Summer Concert Coordinator, William Iorato. Village Historian, Ivy Jordan Tulin. The planning members, the planning board, Chairman Jesse Gallo, Member Bill Olson, Member Brian S. Barber, and Member Scott S. Brown. The Zoning Board of Appeals, Chair John Graney, Member Jonathan Burley, Member Dylan Geibler. And the Architectural and Historic District Review Board, Chair Michael Bertolini, Member Matthew Finn, and alternate member Andrew Avila. The Shade Tree Commission, Commissioner Robert Sherman, and also the appointment for member as Robert Sherman. The 2022 Village Board Liaison roles: Deputy Mayor Barry Cheney, Liaison to Public Works Operation, Engineering and Infrastructure Projects, Veterans, Code Enforcement Building Department, Transportation and Mobility, Emergency Services, and an alternate to Economic Development. Trustee Bachman, Liaison roles: Office of the Clerk, Government Efficiency, Policy Development, Safety Committee, Historical Society, Public Interface and Outreach, Senior Citizens, Ethics, Environmental, and an alternate to Parks and Recreation. Trustee McKnight is Liaison to Planning and Zoning, the AHDRB, the Orange County Planning, Citizens Awareness Panel, Jones Chemical, Albert Wisner Library, Town of Warwick Police Department, Technology Oversight and Cybersecurity, the Shade Tree Commission, and is an alternate to Public Works Operation, Code Enforcement in the Building Department, Transportation and Mobility, and Environmental. Trustee Foster is liaison to the Office of the Treasurer, Parks and Recreation, Economic Development and Tourism, Public Health, Warwick Valley Schools, Youth, WIDO, Warwick Valley Community Center, Warwick Valley Prevention Coalition, and an alternate to Planning and Zoning, the AHDRB, and Orange County Planning, Infrastructure and Engineering and Infrastructure Projects, Veterans, and Emergency Services.
So may I have a motion to accept these recommendations?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And may I have a motion to accept the minutes of February 22nd, 2022, and March 7th, 2022?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion for authorization to pay all approved and audited claims in the amount of $179,771.27. Nope. Well, you're here for the show? Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Carly, do you want to make that announcement?
Sure. So we're going to have the Village of Warwick Easter egg hunt at Veterans Memorial Park on Saturday, April 16th, 2022 at 10 a.m. So, thank you. So there'll be 3 different age groups, ages 3 and under, 4 to 6 years old, and 7 to 12 years old. There will be an Easter bunny at the park. There'll be prizes for finding the golden egg for each age group. And so as your price of admission, please bring a non-perishable food item to support the Warwick Food Pantry. This is also sponsored by the Village of Warwick Recreation and the Warwick Fire Department.
Very good, thank you. Under correspondence, we only have one piece of mail, and that is a letter from the Arbor Day Foundation congratulating the village on earning its 2021 Tree City USA recognition and receiving a growth award. And I believe this is the 22nd or 23rd year of us receiving a growth award and consecutively. And we are one of the oldest tree cities in the Hudson Valley, but one of the longest-standing recipients of the Growth Award as well. So it's quite an honor.
Mayor, do we have to apply for that every year?
Yes, we do. Under discussions this evening, the facilities use fees and security deposits. Just recently, the Warwick Fire Department filled out a facilities use application for the upcoming carnival, and it has changed. And one of the things that has changed was the request for the fees itself, not for this. There was always a request for a security deposit, but in the past, those fees have been waived, and so they have asked us to re-examine that. The one thing that I did reach out to the town and spoke to the town clerk. They do waive fees for the Warwick Valley School District, the Warwick EMS, and the police. The fire department doesn't really use any of the town parks per se, but if they did, it's under the heading of that these are municipal entities. Not that they're nonprofits, because that's a whole other category, but they are considered, I guess it would be Fire Department, Warwick Valley School District, the EMS, and the police. So I'd like to open it up to the board to ask what your thoughts are. It's really not so much about the security deposit. That's something we anticipate in the event that there is any damage to the park. We do receive insurance, by each group anyway, but as well as the security deposit. So,
Is it fair to say that the school district and the fire department are the only two municipal entities who apply to use village facilities?
no.
And also, I'm sorry, the security deposit is also one of the issues as well, because the school district would just be the security deposit. They've had them waived in the past, for example, the kindergarten picnic.
Oh, really? Okay, I'm sorry.
And the same with the fire department. We've, in the past, have waived security deposits.
Why were they waived?
That was just a practice. That's what we always did. But recently, though, there was an activity, and the security deposit was
The coin toss.
The
They
coin
provided,
toss.
including a letter asking if the security deposits could be waived in the future.
Oh, okay.
The security deposit for gatherings of over 200, which would be the fire department, not necessarily the school district. I don't think they've had a gathering of over 200 on village property. unless the kindergarten classes get very large, they haven't indicated that. There's a $500 security deposit in that case, where gatherings under 200 are $200. And then there's a facility use fee now, application fee of $250 for gatherings of over 200.
So my opinion on this is I think we are lucky to have such an involved fire department and school district in the village. My thought is I don't think we should have them pay the fee or a security deposit. Especially not the school. You know, we have teachers who would be expected to come up with.
Yeah, that's the
security deposits,
logistics
and that-
with the
to
school.
me, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the school district is much more difficult in that they're individual teachers that are having picnics or events for their class, and it gets a little bit unwieldy. And they couldn't go to the school district and ask for that check. It would be impossible, and so. But Carly, you're.
I guess I have a question about the carnival and the extent of, so what the condition of the grounds is afterwards, and then how we generally deal with that.
Usually, we've had certain situations where it's been a rainy week, and when the carnival left town, they left their marks. But insurance usually covers it, and/or the manpower from the fire department often repairs it with our DPW. I mean, it's,
One
we
year, the
haven't-
carnival vendor contributed $8,000.
That's
to
right.
help repair it. So they've always been forthright, they've, done what they had to do to return it to the condition it was left in. I mean, they're great about cleaning up the garbage on Sunday, the papers and everything. And it's just these unusual circumstances, like when we get quite a bit of rain, that, damage is actually done, but it's always been repaired. The fire department has honored its obligation to the village.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Tom then on that point. It seems like the $500 is sort of like it's not really a meaningful number for that scale of event anyway. And then, it seems like it's a pretty collaborative process, and they do provide governmental services. So my thought was that for entities that provide governmental or municipal services, then the fees and the security deposits would be waived. And it sounds like that's similar to what's happening at these higher scales.
the other thing with the firemen, they do series of events because they have, they use a pavilion, they have activities in Memorial Park on a pretty regular basis, so they would have to be coming up with that 500, it would be rotating $500. So I think that it just gets, again, a little unwieldy, and I think it's also out of respect for them. They do give us so much. Corey, what's your take?
I guess I just had questions surrounding like why were they exempt to begin with?
Because
If it
of
was
all
over
the,
200, or if it was a series, is it a possibility of looking into maybe having them pay a security deposit for like a series of during the season?
Mhm.
But I guess I just wanted the intent to be, so that everyone was treated fairly and equally.
I think that it has to be written down, as part of a policy, so it's very clear, so that so this board or another board understands that this is something that is an accepted practice. And I think that clarifies it.
Well, that was my question. What are the municipal entities that have events in the?
Well, I think
village?
the ones I named, the fire department, the school district, the EMS, and the police. Now,
I thought they were in the town more than EMS and police.
they do, but if they were to use a village park, I would think that they would be part of that team.
They provide municipal services.
Right.
Yeah.
They had a coin drop too.
Right.
So the institution of the application fee was new with the revision to the code.
Well, there was always an application fee. It was actually $500 for assemblies greater than 200. But remember that was
that's not
separate.
village, that's kind of separate.
Okay.
What was there previously was
Yeah.
separate, yes, you're right. But for use of village facilities, there was no previous application fee, just the requirement to have the
The security.
security deposit, thank you.
That's right.
And didn't some of the discussion around the application fee stem from the amount of time that it takes Village Hall to actually process that and the number of meetings that are needed in order to, review the application and make sure everything is in order? So
Yes.
that's, some of the basis for why why that application fee and was instituted. And I mean, there are other organizations that do a lot for the community that use the facilities, whose applications are, nowhere near as rigorous as, for instance, the Carnival, who are still going to be expected to pay the security deposit, which they've been doing in the past, and now an application fee.
Correct.
And that, youth football and cheer, Little League, those are probably two of the more obvious ones.
Mm-hmm. Apple Fest would be another, with the Merchants Guild and the Chamber.
Yeah.
And can you remind me the application, and I was reviewing it before this meeting, but I can't recall whether it says that the applicant would be responsible for any damage over and above,
It does say
the
that.
yeah, okay, so that's there, and I think, and they're agreeing to that.
The amount of, to Barry's point, the amount of administrative work that goes into the carnival alone, and then Apple Fest, of course, too. The carnival in particular, because they have mechanical rides. And Apple Fest, there's a component of the carnival also. They have an Apple Eve carnival, or that's what they were calling it. The community center actually puts that on. And the village's insurance doesn't cover mechanical rides. So it's very important that we have all the layers in place, and then we get all the same contracts, insurance from the fireworks, as well as the carnival folks, and then as well as the fire department. The stack is, yay thick.
Yeah.
But so I think what we were talking about is this idea of sort of exempting municipal services, or folks that would qualify as municipal services. So if the village itself were putting on something similar, then we would be having to cover all of that administration in any case, right?
And if we were doing an event, if we were doing an activity.
Yeah, we still have to cover all of that administration. We have to go
Yes.
through that whole process without having an external reimbursement other than the support that we might be receiving through admission fees, et cetera.
Mhm. Well, we probably wouldn't have admissions fees usually.
Yeah.
Events are free.
Yeah, hypothetically.
Yeah.
And is your concern, Barry, that, there's nonprofit organizations that maybe the fee is a hardship? The fee and the security deposit?
I mean, I can't say that the fee is a hardship for either of the two organizations I mentioned, but, there might be some others that would feel that it was, a hardship for them.
Is it worth us doing a little bit of engagement around?
I think we can. I'm just trying to sort it out right now in my mind.
When do they need to know by?
Well, they need to know sooner than later because they have already submitted their application.
We could always, if we make a decision to change it to, basically not require them, we can refund that application fee, I would think.
Well, we also have the ability to waive a single application, at the discretion of the board. So
Sure.
we could choose tonight to waive for the firemen and the school, and then have a deeper conversation about a broader policy.
Mhm.
I agree.
Corey, what do you think? Because you were,
I mean, I see waiving the application fee for gatherings over 200 for the carnival or something like Applefest. Would it make sense to go above 3, like the threshold is 300? And then that way, most of the events would be exempt?
well, the carnival.
Carnival wouldn't.
Applefest?
Little League
Carnival.
wouldn't. Football wouldn't.
Yeah, okay. I agree. I think maybe we could make that determination tonight to waive those fees and then have that deeper and more kind of holistic conversation about how, if we are to give any kind of waiver, then who does it go to and what does it mean? I mean, the other thing too, and I think Barry's point is well taken, is that the administrative end of it is intense, it's extensive. And sometimes it's like herding cats because of the disparate information that has to be put into one packet. I mean, I've seen where an application can take a month because of the back and forth that's necessary to make sure all the pieces are in there. And that just has to do with our modern life and insurance and making sure all our T's are crossed. So
Well, I mean, not for the school, right? We're talking for the firemen's school.
mostly for the fire, yeah, the school is not it's a, very small events, but it's the large events, I think that.
I see the carnival as a benefit to the community that we can't really take credit for, but it's something that people like. So I think the trade-off there is, and I know I'm not doing the administrative work there, but it's putting in that effort to bring that carnival to the village, I think is a net positive thing.
Sure it is. I mean, that's, I think we all agree with that.
Who handles the application when it comes in usually? So for that month that the application could take, it's taking an employee away from other duties and responsibilities. So there's that to factor in as well.
Yeah, this is why, like, provisionally for me, I don't see it as being unfair to exempt municipal or something that we would qualify as municipal or governmental service entity and still require it for other entities. Because I see that as, sort of like an extension of the village. If they weren't there, we would have to cover those services in some other way. They're sort of required.
And so you have a motion from one of the kindergarten classes today, but you would then make a motion to waive it for the North Valley Central School District.
Right.
Because then we'll be getting numerous applications from different classes.
Do you,
Or would we just tonight be waiving it for individual applications that are before us? I guess that's the question. We could amend the motions to waive the application fee.
I mean, I think it's important to waive the ones tonight, but maybe do a deeper dive.
That's, I share that perspective as well.
okay.
So we don't have the fire department on the agenda because what'll happen first is that their application will go before our insurance company for review.
Right,
We'll have to make sure, have to go through page by page to compare, be sure we have all of the insurance documents in order and all of the contracts signed that have to be signed, and then that will come before the board when it's complete.
Should they know sooner than later, I guess, that we're going to essentially waive?
I think so, but again, that would be up to you, I would imagine, when the motion comes before the board to hold the carnival, whether or not you require it pending the application and the security deposit, or to waive it.
Well, certainly, they can submit the application without the application fee.
Yes, and they have, and I already said that
And-
that's not holding the process
Right,
up.
good.
Good.
I mean, can we also conditionally motion that we would approve it when their application does come in, specifically the fire department for the carnival?
I would suggest we wait. If we're gonna do a little deeper dive into it and make some other decisions, we can wait till it comes in, until it comes before us to make a decision as to whether to waive the fee or not.
seems like we're slowing the process down.
No, we're
Well,
not,
no,
no.
no, because-
It's happening, you know.
The clerk's gonna continue to process the application, it's just a matter, and they're not gonna withdraw it
I
because.
mean, it's 2 weeks to the next meetings, right, so.
Because we haven't made, we haven't taken action on waiving it.
And, I mean, I've been in conversations with the fire department, and, you know, they understand. They recognize what's happening, it's a new form, and things are changing. I think what would be important is to bring to light the administrative piece of it, which I have mentioned to them, but I don't know if they fully understand it. And I think that's a really important piece. I mean, years ago, it was a motion to say, yes, you can have your carnival. And just give us your insurance, fine. But now things are a whole new world, you know, especially with mechanical rides. It really takes on this whole other form, so. So I agree with Barry. I think we should wait, but I will talk to them and I'll just say, listen, you know, things are moving ahead and we're looking at it, but we also want to have a conversation with you about what it is on our end and what we have to do, so.
I mean, good point. How do we quantify what the administrative work? I guess it's all on your desk, right? Okay. Are we talking like days,
Yes.
days and days? Okay.
Yeah. Depending on how it comes in. Of course, we've had 2 years of, well, 1 year that it was canceled and 1 year of COVID, that was enormous because then there were guidelines from the county and the Board of Health, and we had to have meetings and everything about that. But in prior years, again, you know, the fire department, they're volunteers, so they would, maybe the responsibility would change to another individual and it would come in pieces. So really, we would be working on it for months. This time, I mean, it looks like I really have everything. I have to go through it very carefully. It does take a lot of time, which I haven't had as of lately. But when I go through that, and you know, I think now some of the folks that are really working on it really understand. And I gave them a complete packet last year also, you know, to say just, you know, please return this in the same form, just everything updated for the new year. So hopefully it'll go a little smoother. But I don't expect it to come before the board probably until the first meeting in May, because I do know I have to go back and forth there. I know there are some things that are missing, and then we have to wait for our insurance company to come back and review it.
Well, and the carnival is specifically funding their operations and, like, it's, what is it
No,
used for?
They have a tax district that funds most of their operations, so, you know, this is used for things that they wanna do that they can't use the tax district money for. You know, events, parades, you know, things of that nature.
More discretionary.
So, yeah, yeah.
It used to go towards paying for the fireworks.
Yes.
But now the fireworks are actually generously donated by Leo Cades, so that's,
For the last couple of years.
Couple
I
of
guess.
years,
Yeah, this year included. But usually, yes, whatever they made on the carnival, you know, paid for the fireworks, which fireworks probably cost around $10,000.
Yeah. So maybe that, you know, is part of the consideration as well.
very good.
So for 7, are we gonna consider waiving the security deposit and the application, or just the security deposit?
I think it should be both.
Okay.
For the school?
The school doesn't, their gathering's under 200, so they would just have the security deposit.
Okay.
And then I know I'll be receiving, before COVID, we would get about maybe 6 or so requests to use the park from different classes at Park Avenue, so we'll probably see more of them coming. And so I would just tell them the same thing, include in their letter the request to waive the fee, and then it would be looked at. Okay.
I mean, that doesn't offer administrative nightmares, does it? I mean,
Well, it would be much better to have a list, then that would be great,
Yeah,
right? Then I
yeah.
would know when someone comes to apply, if I know that these entities are waived, then I would know that off the bat.
okay, so we will bring that discussion round robin and potentially have a direction by the next meeting. So, Privilege of the floor. If anybody in the audience would like to speak to the board this evening, this is your opportunity. Catherine, hi.
Hi. I have the first time doing this, so am I required to stand? And
Yes, please, and state your name. Yes.
Okay, yeah, Catherine Petrillo-Klein. First, I'd like to offer congratulations to the newly installed trustees tonight and the mayor.
Thank you.
I think I've interacted with a few of you personally, but I see my requirement is to speak to the whole board, so that's what I'm going to do. Excuse me, so my goal for attending tonight is to seek some feedback from the board on the current status of the work being done on the sewer lines in the village. Unfortunately, our home has been subjected to, from prior hurricanes, the most recent one back in September, and then 10 years prior, Irene, affectionately known as Irene and Ida. And so we had wastewater effluent coming into the first floor of our home. Needless to say, catastrophic situation on many levels, emotionally, physically, financially. So in light of the fact that this is a reciprocal or dual responsibility on the part of the homeowner to implement the measures, appropriate measures in the form of this backflow valve, that, speaking from my perspective as a homeowner, that has been in place. My responsibility is in place for this going forward. As we know, from climate predictions, we're on track to get many more of these catastrophic storms, tremendous amounts of rain, especially in the Northeast. I think our prediction is between 50 and 60%. Other parts of the country have different issues that they're dealing with, but the Northeast, it's going to be water, rain. So I, did a little, my own research, and as I said, reaching out to some, board members, have found that there are processes in place. One in particular, known as I&I, that can affect the sewer lines that are the responsibility of the village. So I would like to know, aside from the awareness that's built into the comprehensive plan and the plans going forward, what remedies, what corrections, what is the current status of, first of all, these lines? Because I did request, actually my son-in-law put the request through, and we had a report back. I don't know if I have it with me, I do. And handwritten in there was a statement that really the lines had not, there was not the ability to feed back on the condition of them because they hadn't really been assessed in any reasonable period of time.
Mhm.
So I would like to have a current status of those lines. As I say, our valve is in place, so hopefully that should hold. But there is the responsibility of the village, because the line coming from the main sewer line is the homeowner's responsibility, but the rest of the lines belong to the village water infrastructure. So what, right now, what is the status of those lines? How patent are they? How much does I&I, is that a problem for the lines right now? And then I would like to personally request an inspection, I believe it's known as a jetting, of the lines around our home, so that I can be assured that that those lines are adequate, that I'm not sitting on a potential problem that I've tried to address, but now is beyond the scope of what I can do. And so it's a partnership. And as I said, it's good that it's in the comprehensive plan to be looked into, but I would like to know an actual status, a current status of what these lines look like. And if they are subjected to I&I, what is the remedy for that? If there are cracks, if the water, too much water is entering, what's gonna be done? In the here and now, not just, these are our plans to do it, but in the here and now. 'Cause, no idea when, Mother Nature's not gonna tell us when the next 100-year storm is gonna come through. We just have to be prepared.
The most important thing is that you do have that check valve. That's critical for your own protection. From homeowners, yeah.
Yes.
But I understand what you're talking about. Now, a little bit of the history of that part of the village.
Which part of the village is it?
It is a Carroll Drive and Southern Lane, and then below it, it would be South Street Extension. The sewer lines were all redone from Carroll Drive all the way to South Street, to Galloway,
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
At least, if
More
not
than
more.
that,
Yeah.
probably 15.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct, I remember.
Right. And so that was a relatively, large project.
Yes.
And I would say that leg of the, the reason why that was done was because over time, those pipes flatlined, and so that became a real issue in terms of what happened to your neighborhood and even above your neighborhood. So, but we are doing I&I testing. But where are we with that?
Well, right now, we're trying to put together the detailed plan as to what areas and specific stretches of the sewer will be evaluated during that study. And I would expect that we will know within probably 2 to 4 weeks where that's going to be. This area is one of the ones that's in consideration for just what you asked for,
Correct.
which would be camera and jetting if necessary, but certainly running the camera to actually get a view of what's going on inside the pipes.
Yeah, well, let me ask you, so you're using the future tense, will. I mean, why, shouldn't this always have been an ongoing maintenance issue for for water and sewer? In other words, was awareness lacking in the past such that maybe I&I was overlooked? It was not, as I say, shouldn't this be an ongoing maintenance?
But
We've been budgeting to evaluate our I&I situation in the village for probably the past 5 or 6 years, putting anywhere from possibly $20,000 to $30,000 in terms of the effort. We did a fairly extensive flow monitoring evaluation of certain parts of the system. I don't recall exactly
results
where
on
all
that?
those were. I'm
I
sorry.
mean, do you have results on that?
Yes.
Do you-
Yes,
And
and we've addressed problems that we've found.
Okay.
Yes.
So there are, in other words, there are reports that could be seen, and my question directly related to where our home is, are there, was that kind of work, has that assessment been done fairly recently, within the past couple of years? And what has been the result, and has there been a remedy that was applied?
I don't recall specifically.
I just want to point out too that jetting is something that is about removing blockage, more so than I&I. I&I is just water infiltrating into the system.
Yes.
So they're two different things in a way. But camera work is to see if there are cracks.
Yes.
And that's a pretty important thing. And we do this quite often in problem areas. So as Barry was saying, we're working with an engineer right now on a rather large, I&I review project, and hopefully that your neighborhood will be part of it. I'm hoping. I've mentioned it a number of times to the engineer who's doing the project.
And would those reports be available to review?
Well, everything is available,
Okay.
so, but I don't know if there's any reports as of in the past 2 years. I'd have to look.
Yeah, no, that was not indicated to me.
Okay.
So just to be clear, then it is Well, my particular request then for the inspection, the jetting, whatever, it sounds like that would be coming about again?
I would venture to say it would be quite likely that it would happen in your neighborhood
Okay,
as part of the bigger study.
okay. Mhm. And again, this is seen as an ongoing maintenance
Yes.
issue.
Yes. I&I is an ongoing issue within the village. We've done a number of things over, the past 10 years.
Mhm.
And, including smoke testing to
Yeah.
determine if there are illegal
Yes.
connections.
Mhm.
So this is a continuation of that process. And
Mhm.
as we find contributors that are of I&I to the system, we work with, sometimes it's on us, but a lot of times it's been on the property owner that is contributing I&I through either their gutters and leaders entering the sewer system when they should be entering the storm system. And those have been corrected in the past, and we've seen the benefits of that at the sewage treatment plant.
Okay, well then, so my recourse in going forward, would you suggest, who would be the liaison person then on the board that I can have recourse to see what the results of these, inspections show, and so that I can have that, not necessarily measure of assurance, because I know that, there's no guarantees necessarily when it comes to that, but just the recognition that the assessment's been done, if something has been identified, it's been corrected, and just we continue to partner with it, just continue to partner with it.
Barry would be that person,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
So if you want to share contact, I have your contact information, I'll make sure he has it.
Sure, okay, yes, yeah, so I'm glad that, I was able to kind of put a face to the problem, and be able to establish, a direct contact. So,
Good.
thank you.
Catherine, thank you.
And just thinking about kind of the YouTube and inflow and infiltration. So my understanding of the way that works is that it could come from two different directions. It could come from someone tapping into it, as you mentioned, into the system, or it could come through sort of joints where there, and cracks. And also my understanding of I&I is, it certainly gets worse as the system ages or as there are external pressures, but it's very difficult to eliminate. It's like playing whack-a-mole.
But
But it's something to improve and.
yeah, but with knowledge comes the ability to correct things that make a difference.
Right.
So then that's what we're trying to do.
I think the flow monitoring is a very important piece of it.
It was important information that we were able to gather.
So if there's I&I found and it's considerable, then the road would need to be torn up.
You can slip line the pipe.
You can slip by it? Okay.
Right.
So just a smaller diameter.
It decreases the diameter a little bit marginally, depending upon how you do it.
Okay.
And there are no budgetary constraints when it comes to being able to afford the work, are there? Does that ever enter into it, or?
Well, the program, or the project that we're doing is grant funded.
Okay.
It's a larger project, yes.
But that's to do the investigative work.
Right.
Of finding, if we find a problem, then we have to find a way to pay for fixing it.
That's on the village.
Yes.
To pay for the.
Oh, for the main law, yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, in the end, it comes down to the sewer users, and it would show up in their rate if we had to, we'd have to probably increase rates to cover those costs.
Oh, mhm.
So.
Okay. Would anybody else like to speak to the board this evening? Okay, thank you. And thank you, Catherine, for coming, I appreciate it. So we'll move on to motions, and trustee Cheney.
Motion to accept the proposal for engineering services from Barton and Lejudas dated February 18th, 2022 for the relocation of the Maple Avenue Water Booster Station and authorize the mayor to sign the amendment to the master services agreement with Barton and Lejudas at a not to exceed without prior authorization amount of $98,000.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Just as a point of conversation, we are investigating this in hopes to potentially move the water booster station to another site, which would not affect the system, but it would give us the ability to do major intersection reconstruction, working with the New York State DOT. And this is the intersection of Colonial and Maple. So it's just sort of the groundwork that we would have to do to be able to envision a different type of intersection there.
Relocation of the Maple Avenue pump station was part of the assessment that was done on the storage tanks and the pump station. So we looked at doing what we could to consolidate that, and this was one of the items that was part of that, and that was to move the Maple Avenue pump station from the precarious location that it exists presently on that island out somewhere along Grand Street. And the primary purpose of that station is to push water to the Valley View
Tanks.
tank and the Chelsea tank.
That's right.
What's going on with the monument, the water fountain and the Frank Forrester monument? Would
Well,
they need to be moved, or?
They could be moved. At that point, they could be moved. We can
But close by.
but close by, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So we have a second. Any other comments or questions?
But my understanding is this has to be done before the state's going to repave,
Right. That's right.
You know, it's on a pretty aggressive timeline.
right?
Yeah.
Is there, I'm thinking about the timeline, right? What else is going to come up before the board between now and then? I mean, this is for the design work,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then how much is it for the new pump station? A couple hundred,
It's probably $400,000 to $600,000,
400,000 to 600,000.
which is in the budget.
That isn't, right, okay. All right. Okay, that's my only question, thank you.
Okay. Okay, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion to hire Andrew D'Alessandro to the position of full-time laborer at the current collective bargaining agreement rate of $18 per hour, subject to increase with the June 1st, 2020 collective bargaining agreement rates. Start date to be determined by DPW Supervisor Mike Moser.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to advertise for the position of part-time assistant building inspector 3. The vote, that's it.
Okay.
Got carried away.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Corey?
For attendance at schools and conferences, whereas there is to be held during the coming official year, A, NICOM's annual meeting and training school, B, NICOM's fall training school, C, NICOM's public works training school, D, NICOM's winter legislative meeting, and E, NICOM's regional training events. And whereas attendance by certain municipal officials and employees at one or more of these meetings, conferences, or schools benefits the municipality. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. 1, that the following officers and employees are authorized to attend the following schools. 1, Mayor Michael J. Newhart, Trustees Barry Cheney, Corey Bachman, Carly Foster, Thomas McKnight. 1, NICOM's annual meeting and training school, fall training school, winter legislative meeting, and regional training events. 2, village clerk Raina Abramson, deputy clerk Jennifer Monte, village treasurer Sadie Becker, deputy treasurer Denise Bolnez. 2, NICOM's fall training school and regional training events. 3, DPW supervisor Mike Moser, NICOM's public works training school. 2, that this resolution is effective immediately.
Okay.
Second.
Okay.
Tom got it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, it's a roll call. I'm sorry.
Trustee Cheney?
Yes.
Trustee Foster?
Yes.
Trustee McKnight?
Yes.
Trustee Bachman?
Yes.
Mayor Newhart?
Yes. And Carly?
Motion to schedule a public hearing on the tentative budget for fiscal year 2022 to 2023 on Monday, April 18th at 7:30 PM.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to authorize Riverkeeper Incorporated to clear the Veterans Memorial area of the Way Beyond a Creek on Saturday, May 7th, 2022. Request includes the Village of Warwick to provide garbage bags and garbage bag pickup following the event. Proper insurance has been received.
I have a question on that.
Second.
Let's second it first.
Oh, sorry. So that's happening on Saturday,
Mhm.
and then Sunday would be the pickup, right? Is that, who's going to,
We'd probably wait till Monday.
Wait till Monday, yeah.
wait till Monday?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it wouldn't
Just says
involve
following the
overtime.
event, so
Yeah.
DPW would pick that up then?
Yeah. Okay, any other, all in favor?
Aye. Motion to grant permission to Park Avenue Elementary School to hold a first grade picnic in Stanley Deming Park on June 14th, 2022, with a rain date of June 15th, 2022, from 12:15 PM to 2:30 PM. Completed park permit and proof of proper insurance have been received. Request to waive security deposit has been received, and so I think I'm also including the motion to request to waive the security deposit based on our discussion earlier.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Motion to grant permission to the Warwick Adult Kickball League to hang 7 2-foot by 3-foot sponsor banners on the fence surrounding the over 35 field at Veterans Memorial Park for the period of May 13th, 2022 through July 22, 2022. I'm sorry. Proper insurance has been received, and then I'd like to amend the motion also to require review of the banners for content by the mayor.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Amended. And I have a form that Mike Mosier could not be here this evening, but he was very concerned about this, and he was concerned about the banners being put up for that extended period of time. So let me see if I can read his writing. There were some concerns with banners that have been put on these fences, and many of them get damaged and need replacement on a continual basis because of wind or, whatever. And the concern is, for him, what are the other groups that are using the field and their ability to hang banners? And and then who's going to fix the banners when they rip? And also, and probably more importantly, it cuts down on visibility in the park, and that is his concern with just surveillance and police surveillance. And he feels that they should be put up and taken down each week, which has been a practice that has happened in the past. But Barry, as a person who's been involved with many of the sports teams, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I don't think it's unreasonable to ask them to put them up and take them down. I mean they're banners. They're not like they're permanent signs. They're there once a week. Other organizations are there 7 days a week, and so I think it's reasonable to just ask them to limit the display of the banners to the time during which they have active games.
Mm-hmm.
That's reasonable.
So I'll make a motion to amend to limit the display of the banners during permitted games, permitted game times.
Okay. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Motion to schedule a public hearing for Monday, May 2nd, 2022, to discuss projects considered for funding under the fiscal year 2023 Community Development Block Grant Program.
Okay.
Second.
Just as a point of reference, this year's block grant is the sidewalk from 2nd to 3rd Street on the west side of the street. And it's a very involved project because of the nature of the sidewalk. But the idea behind this is ADA accessibility. And that's just one of the things that is a standard and required if we're doing any sidewalk work. So if the trustees want to look and see if there's any particular projects that they feel are need to get done, or please bring that information to me in the next week, and we'll take a look at it.
Specifically sidewalk?
It doesn't have to be specifically sidewalks, but sadly, since we lost most of our funding capability through community development, this is probably the best way to expend that grant money, especially with, as long as it's in removing any barriers for and creating ADA compliancy.
Will the full amount of the grant be taken up by the 2nd to 3rd Street sidewalk repairs?
Yes.
So this would be
This is
an
a-
or, if we
this-
brought
no,
anything else.
This is a
New.
new.
No, that one's already taken. Could we get more money for that? I mean, are we gonna need more money for that?
I don't know. We haven't gotten there yet, but
Oh, so this
I
is
can
what
always
the
go
last-
back, I can always go back and request for more money if it's if it goes beyond
Yeah,
budget.
the sidewalk project that the mayor presented is one that's already been funded. It's going to be done this year with the funding we received from the application last year.
The South Street.
South Street, yeah, between
Between Second
Second
and
and
Third.
Third, on the west side.
So I saw the letter from Steve Newhouse, right, about certain dates that we had to, I assume that was hit, March meetings and all that.
Right.
But what is the scope that it could cover? I mean, I have no concept of what that could,
Usually, there's a limit. It's in terms of the financial amount.
right? Because there's no shortage of projects, right?
There's no shortage of projects, but usually the cap is, for a single project, for a one-year project, is anywhere between $100,000 and $150,000.
If we were doing sidewalks, so we can submit for more than one project.
We can.
And sidewalks are interesting because, like the length of sidewalk, you could potentially right size to the grant amount.
Right.
And then go after multiple.
Right, and we've done that.
But the issue is that we can't just do sidewalks with this money.
Right.
It has to be ADA compliance and removing barriers. So we can do things around corners and pedestrian crossings where there are no ramps. That's a possibility, but we can't just decide that we want to put a sidewalk somewhere where there isn't one
So
necessarily.
so the comprehensive plan, it's in draft format, right? But we pretty much have from Alta Planning and Design, we pretty much have their final reading of projects requiring ADA compliance in the village.
Right.
Right, so if anything, I would, that's where I would look to
Yep.
pull from.
Yeah,
Because, I mean, we paid for this professional study.
sure, absolutely.
And is ADA accessibility the only kind of
It-
accessibility that
That's really.
that we're eligible
That's
for?
really what we're eligible for. For example, in Stanley Deming Park, the part of the, one of the grants covered the pavers that led to the playground. Because somebody in a wheelchair would have to go over like very rough terrain to get to this ADA compliant playground. So,
Right.
it didn't make any sense. So that was a really perfect alignment there. But anything like that, and we'll look at Alta's study.
And we also did High Street
Right.
a couple of years ago, and the basis for that was that the senior citizen population from Burt Farms and Creekside, that's a walking route that they would take to get downtown into the village. So that then qualified, but the hoops we had to jump through to justify the income levels of the individuals that were being served by it was pretty extensive, right, Raina?
Yeah. And actually, we started out with, it wasn't originally for ADA compliancy. It was just really to do the sidewalk over. And we did start doing income surveys, and it was very extensive and very difficult, because people they felt it was an intrusion to have this kind of survey about how much money they make. So it was when Nicole Anderson came on board, she looked at the project and said, well, this is clearly a project that removes barriers, and so if you rewrite it to be ADA compliancy, you'll get it. So that's what happened.
Is there a ceiling of what we can ask for, or is it just competitive after a point?
It is competitive, but there is for a single year project, it's I would say 150,000.
Right, but we could go after multiple, that's why I was
You could do
asking.
it. I think it's a 3-year project, and it's a larger amount of money, but then you can't apply in that 3-year period. So
We couldn't apply for multiple $150,000
That's what I was asking.
projects
Yeah,
the
like,
same year.
oh
we
yeah,
go-
no.
No,
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
There's only
limited
one.
pool of money,
Okay.
and there are how many municipalities in Orange County that are all vying for it. So a lot of it depends in terms of what they give. A lot of it depends on how many other applications there are that are worthy, and what money's available.
And so what, given kind of how things have gone in the past, can we go after that full 150,000? Are we likely to get that, or?
Well, what we need to do is come up with a project and come up with a cost estimate. That's part of the package that we have to create to give to them. Then they'll come out and visit it and see if they feel that it's a project that they want to fund.
So maybe we should prioritize the Alta recommendations,
Mhm.
like actually go through and see
Mhm.
which ones they've identified as being most critical. and-
Right, or look at the projects that we have done, and if there could be an add-on. So if it's, I don't know what condition the next block is on South Street, but is that, what kind of condition is it in?
It's all, yeah, it's rough.
Yeah,
Yeah, so continuing that accessibility instead of
I
just
mean, because
having like
we have the equipment out there, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
less expensive than entirely separate new project. If you're
well,
using the same
this would
engineers
be a project for the following year.
for
so-
2023.
Right.
Is that in line with our fiscal year or the calendar year?
It's with, I never thought of it. What would it be?
Because that could mean June this year.
I think it's the calendar.
Calendar year, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's the counties, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Would it be, actually, like, building on that, would it be possible for us to find out what the economies of scale might be to go a little bit further, like with the because mobilization, they're already mobilized,
right.
whether there might be an opportunity to go a little bit further in the location that they're at?
That could be a possibility, sure. I mean, also, there's the capability of us doing the work in-house, and that has proven to really, whatever funds we get, really gives us the ability
Stretch
to
it.
stretch it. Yeah. So. Okay, so we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Tom?
Got several pages here.
Yeah, I know, you've got the,
All right, a motion to acknowledge receipt of the standardized notice form from the New York State Liquor Authority for an on-premises liquor license for the Blarney Station located at 10 Railroad Avenue, Warwick, New York, 10990, and authorize the village clerk to submit a letter notifying the New York State Liquor Authority that there are no objections to this notification and application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Here you go. Here's your moment to shine.
Oh, goodness, okay. So, I'm motioning to adopt the governing body fair housing resolution. The Village of Warwick supports Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, Federal Fair Housing Law, and the New York State Human Rights Law. It is the policy of the Village of Warwick to implement programs to ensure equal opportunity in housing for all persons, regardless of race, color, religion, ancestry, sex, including pregnancy, national origin, nationality, familial status, marital or domestic partnership status, affectional or sexual orientation, atypical hereditary cellular or blood trait, genetic information, liability for military service, mental or physical disability, perceived disability, age, AIDS, HIV status, and lawful income or source of lawful rent payment, Section 8. The Village of Warwick further objects to discrimination in the sale, rental, leasing, financing of housing or land to be used for construction of housing, or in the provision of brokerage services because of race, color, religion, ancestry, sex, national origin, handicap, or disability as prohibited by Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, Federal Fair Housing Law, and the New York State Human Rights Law. Therefore, the Municipal Council of the Village of Warwick do hereby approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that within available resources, the Village of Warwick will assist all persons who feel they have been discriminated against under one of the aforementioned categories to seek equity under federal and state laws by filing a complaint with the New York State Human Rights Division and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development as appropriate. Be it further resolved that the Village of Warwick shall publicize this resolution and through this publicity shall cause owners of real estate, developers, and builders to become aware of their respective responsibilities and rights under the Federal Fair Housing Law, the New York State Human Rights Law, and any local laws or ordinances. Be it further resolved that the municipality will at a minimum include, but not be limited to, 1, the printing and publicizing of this resolution, a fair housing public notice, and other applicable fair housing information through local media, community contacts, and placement on the municipal website and in other social media. 2, distribution of posters, flyers, and any other means which will bring to the attention of those affected the knowledge of their respective responsibilities and rights concerning equal opportunity in housing.
Okay.
Second.
Trustee Cheney?
Yes.
Trustee Foster?
Yes.
Trustee McKnight?
Yes.
Trustee Bachman?
Yes.
Mayor Newhart?
Yes. That's the end of motions this evening. So final comments from the board members?
Where are we currently posting this information? I know on the website. Anywhere else?
On our lobby board, and we did on social media. It's an annual resolution.
Okay. We do have to go into executive session. Do you have the?
I guess while we're waiting to do that, just one reminder, the House Street Bridge.
Oh, yes.
The county has arrived.
Bank
Bank
Street.
Street Bridge, sorry, right. Thank you. And I believe it's been closed to pedestrian traffic. They were removing the layer of asphalt over the top today. It's going to remain closed probably until about the middle of May, at which time everything should be complete. If you want to put dates on your calendar, but don't too many people show up, but on or about April 26th, they're going to be offloading the precast components of the bridge and putting them in place with a rather large crane. So that might be neat for some people to watch. But
I just want to also say that the bridge has beautiful historic railings, and sadly we can't use them again because of DOT requirements. We are saving all those pieces, architectural pieces, to be used potentially in one of our parks and for a walk bridge or something else. So they will be carefully stored away until we have an appropriate place to use them. The other piece of it is the new bridge really did go through a vetting process. The county was very responsive to and understood that the village being a historic district, that anything new had to really look as if it was here for longer than a minute. So they really, our architectural review board worked with the county to really come up with a beautiful design and lighting, and I think it's going to be a nice addition. So just watch, and I think we'll be putting out a press release to give the public a greater clarity as to what the bridge will look like and the timeline on it as well. So we have to go into executive session for the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we will go into executive session. When we return, we will not be doing any motions or village business. We'll be closing the meeting. Thank you.
Can I just mention something about